Recently on Fox and Friends. Tell us about that.
Well, as you know, I joined forces with a congressional candidate out of Kentucky's 6th District, a gentleman by the name of Matt Lockett, to form a group called the Conservative Freshman Coalition. And the reason we formed the group was individually we were finding that a lot of people, after hearing us speak at our various events, liked what we had to say, felt like we were definitely the person for the job, but they kept asking, you're one person. If you get elected, what can one person do? So we decided to find as many like-minded conservative candidates as we could who'd be willing to take a pledge, which is on our site, to uphold various conservative values. That way, realizing that 100% of us are not going to get elected, but if we get even just a small number of us, at least we don't go to D.C. alone. We go up as a unified group who can stand for these conservative values. So Fox News picked up on that, thought it was a great idea. They were comparing it to Newt Gingrich's contract with America, only before the fact, not after the fact. And they liked what we were standing for, and so they interviewed us just a couple of weeks ago.
You talk about this pledge of things that you stand for. Give me a little bit about that. What's on it? And well, first off, before you even answer that, how many people you have signed on to this?
Well, prior to last week's primaries, we were getting very close to 60, and I'll be honest with you, I've been so busy with my own campaign the last few days, I haven't looked to see if we have any new members signed up, but I think we're still over 50. We lost 7 candidates due to the primaries in Ohio and North Carolina last week. So hopefully we won't lose any more today. I'm one of 2 candidates who's in the election circle today, so hopefully I'll still be on there tomorrow. We'll know that very soon, won't we?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, today's the big day. Polls have been open now for approximately 42 minutes and be open until 7:30 tonight. And as far as the Conservative Freshman Coalition ideas, one of the things you talk about is supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States. You're talking about limited federal powers, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the bottom line is, we feel like too many times here recently the Constitution has been shoved aside while the administration just does what the administration wants to do, and the Constitution be darned.
And another thing that you sign on to when you sign onto this Conservative Freshman Coalition is a balanced federal budget. Obviously, we're not there right now.
Oh, we're nowhere near, but the problem is if our country continues to along this path of reckless deficit spending, our economy is simply going to implode. So it's a balanced budget. It's not an option anymore. We have to have it.
You are for term limits. That's something that you have said for a long time. And there are a lot of people who might be able to sign on to some of these other things, Lee, are conservative, have like-minded ideas, but they're not for term limits. Why do you think that's an important difference for you as a candidate?
Well, number one, I don't think our founding fathers ever intended for anyone to go to Washington, D.C. to be a career politician. I mean, George Washington himself term limited himself. They wanted to make him king, and he said absolutely not. They wanted him to stay on longer than what he did, and he said absolutely not, because that was not the vision that the founding fathers had for the country. Unfortunately, you end up with career politicians on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, and unfortunately, the longer you stay in Washington, D.C., I believe, the more you lose touch with the people of your home district. So, you know, there's nothing saying that let's say, for example, the term limit for Congress is 8 years. There's nothing saying that you can't go up there, serve 8 years, sit out for a term, and run for Congress again. Or run for something else, run for Senate, run for governor. But you're going to have to run on your track record. You're going to have to prove to the people that you are an effective public servant. And then they will elect you based on the merits of how you served the office prior to that.
Trying to play devil's advocate here a little bit, the people of southern West Virginia have elected Nick Joe Rahal 17 times.
They sure have.
Every 2 years.
The gentleman's been on the Transportation Committee each of those 17 terms. He's been chairman a few of those terms, and wow, that King Cole Highway is awesome. Oh, wait a minute, he didn't get that built, did he? Yeah, so we can see where seniority got him. He's squandered his seniority. So, you know, bottom line is, maybe if he realized he had a finite number of years to get the job done, to take care of his people, maybe he'd be a little more motivated to serve the people.
You talked earlier about losing touch. Do you feel that Rahal has lost touch with the people of the 3rd District?
When you vote with Nancy Pelosi on issues such as cap and trade, well, actually he voted against cap and trade, but he didn't make up his mind until the night before. But he campaigned very heavily in favor of cap and trade. When you vote in favor of cap and trade, when the people are telling you don't do it, when you vote for the health care bill, when the majority of the people in your district are telling you don't do it, I think you've definitely lost touch with your people because you're voting for the party and not for the people.
We're talking with Lee Bias, who's a Republican candidate for Congress in West Virginia's 3rd District. Now, there has been some anti-incumbency mentality across the nation, but you already mentioned in Ohio, it didn't seem to resonate too much. It didn't seem to make a real big difference in last week's primary in the Buckeye State. Why is that? I mean, with all the Tea Parties and all the town hall meetings and all the big government legislation passed, for instance, just across the river, Charlie Wilson won his nomination for re-election by a 2, maybe 3 to 1 margin. I mean, you know, he blew out his opponent.
Right. I tell you what, Tom, I wish I had the answer to that. If I did, I'd be sitting pretty comfortable right now, not so worried about the results tonight. Yeah, I don't know if it's a matter of the conservative movement not getting the message out clearly enough, whether it's people who are afraid to take a chance on a new candidate. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is, but at the end of the day, they've made their choice, and they're going to have to live with it.
I was looking at Herald-Dispatch endorsements. You know, your own newspaper, I don't believe, endorsed you.
No, they did not.
Why not?
That's a good question. I'd like to know that as well.
I mean, you're the only, of the 4 candidates, you're the only one from Huntington.
That's correct. I'm the only one who's a lifelong resident, and the only one who's been a lifelong Republican, as well as a lifelong resident. I mean, granted, yeah, Marty and Conrad have been lifelong Republicans, but Spike has been a Democrat for half a century. So yeah, it kind of befuddles me as to why I didn't receive more consideration, but that's their choice, and I'm sure they had their reasons, and when we win this thing, we'll prove that they endorsed the wrong candidate.
Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that you are the best candidate out of the 4? Because I think a lot of people have heard the various debates and candidate forums and so forth. They feel that there's a lot of similarities between the 4 of you.
Well, there absolutely is. We certainly, the 4 of us, share more in common than we have opposed. But I think there's a couple of things that make me the better choice by far. One is the fact that I have been in the community as a healthcare expert. I have been fighting for the people as a citizen lobbyist, especially on issues such as Medicare, Medicaid, access to care. We know that this healthcare bill is not going away. Healthcare is going to be on the front burner for a very long time to come. And you're going to need somebody who understands it from the inside out and is not going to have to depend on advisors to steer them which direction to go. Beyond that, I believe I am the truest conservative out of the bunch, both fiscally, especially when it comes to things like term limits as well. I believe I'm right on the issues, and there are some differences, and I think in those differences I lead the way.
You did not pick up the endorsement of West Virginians for Life, but you say that you are pro-life.
Very much so.
I wonder why they did not choose to endorse one of the other candidates, or why they actually chose to endorse a primary candidate.
I have no idea. They do send out a questionnaire, and we answered the questionnaire and returned it. You know, I felt like, you know, my answers were very fair. Like I said, I'm very pro-life. There wasn't a single question I answered that leaned anything but 100% pro-life. So how they made their decision in the end, I'm not sure. You would have to ask them.
But one of the things that we also know is that they withdrew their support, their endorsement of Nick Rahal, which they have endorsed the congressman in the past.